Let us take a look into, you guessed it, physical health. So we've been going through this physical health thing the last few videos, kind of exploring what it really is. And I want to add a little bit more to what does it look like when you have good physical health. I guess we're all pretty certain what it looks like when you are physically fit, physically active, when you are moving without injuries, when you are kind of in a good mood. All these things give us an idea, maybe, of where we'd be if we were kind of physically healthy. Now, in reality, what does it really look like at the core of what it is? We'd say that physical health, when seen in everyday life, is more the kind of idea or ability to meet a challenge at the level of the challenge. Meaning that um, you want me to, if your mom cleaned my room and I've been putting off forever and it's too much for me to do and I kind of not being around the bush, I'm trying to do everything else except clean the room, we'd say this would be a lack of physical health. However, if you asked me to clean my room, I went, cleaned my room immediately as you asked, put everything away in a good manner, then came back down and did what I was doing before, we'd say this person has greater amounts of physical health. The ability to tap into internal resources to meet the challenge of cleaning the room and making it the kind of suggestion it is, not making it heavier, more intense than it needs to be. It's just a request. I just did it, and I'm now back to doing what I was doing before. This would be a version of good physical health, where we might have the exact same thing done, but now I'm upset at the person that asked me to do it. So I did it anyway because it was better to do that than not to do it. But I'm still annoyed that I had to finish get rid of what I was doing to go and clean my room. Now I'm back at doing it, but I lost so much time. How terrible is this? Why wouldn't they ask me to do it a different time? This would be an incomplete version. It's probably, I wouldn't say it's a middle version, but we're saying that there's still something missing from what would be considered physically healthy. This being said, this model of the room can be translated into work, can be translated into home life, can be translated into relationships. Um, that being said, we also have to know that the ability to see that we did not, let's say, meet the challenge where it's at is great. Nothing is really saying that we have to be perfect when we meet a challenge. The idea is if we are already capable of taking on the challenge, we have the internal resources. So if we hit a challenge that's greater than what we have internally, it's good to notice that this is a bigger challenge than I thought it was. Perfect. Right now, we're kind of in lines with reality. It is that big because you're not able to act immediately and finish it without lots of cost to yourself. So, or others. So we'd say that, okay, we've hit this challenge. It's large. Now, what do I do about it? If I give up at the beginning, I'm not going to have great physical health. If I pass it off to somebody else, also not going to be great physical health. I will not grow in that model of doing things. So if I look and say, well, this is something that I want to take on, it is important to me, I know that being able to clean my room gives me kind of a discipline. So when I have to do the parts of my job that I'm not a fan of, I have the idea that the better or bigger outcome is more important than this immediate challenge. This would be great. These are kind of life lessons as well, as you can see, that amount to physical health, uh, kind of related to values and those kind of things of older years and generations. They'd speak lots of other things. This is kind of the modern version of the exact same thing. So physical health is very much based in the strength of the character. I guess that'd be good wording for that. And so we want to cultivate the character. But it's not just kind of fashioned from any old experience. There is and has to be a certain amount of challenge in the experience. The person has to see the experience for what it is and take on that challenge, knowing then what you'll gain from it, or some of what you'll gain from it. Later on, it will be revealed to you in your next challenge what you actually did gain from that experience. So we have this kind of hitting up against our limit each time we take on what we call an appropriate challenge. Life will throw at you smaller challenges. Great, use your resources quickly, finish those things, and there will be something that calls on all your resources. This seems kind of daunting. Oh my goodness, can I conquer this thing? I have to do everything in my power to be able to overcome it. It's scary. However, we could look at the exact same thing from a kind of self-believing, kind of a self-efficacy, a kind of feeling that I finally get to use all my skills to take on this challenge. This is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to push me in ways I have not yet needed. But in doing this, I rise closer to my potential as an individual for the things that I'm passionate about. This is great. In fact, anytime that we see this happening in areas that we already love, it's a beautiful thing. We get the inspiration to create a beautiful piece of work, or we get this eureka idea that allows us to bypass processes that we were doing before in a lot more efficient way. So we see that it has a very positive actual connotation with it. However, we're not really used to having this kind of challenge, so it feels and can feel quite heavy. It is still a challenge. But in doing these things, we build, like I was saying, the physical health needed to take on larger things. This ultimately allows us to conserve energy when we have multiple challenging things that we have to take on. We could take it on with kind of dignity. And I say dignity more in reference to the fact of not allowing yourself to get bent out of shape when taking on a challenge. So the challenge comes to me, and I'm normally a calm, relaxed person, but this challenge is great, and I become very angry and aggressive and mean even to the people I actually care about. This would mean that the physical resources to do this thing are far too great for me at the moment, and I need to cultivate more internal resource, mental, physical, emotional health. We'd really have to work on that system. And the next time this thing comes up, is there such a large change in my actual base character? If not, I've either increased my resources or I've taken on an easier challenge and I'm not really growing from it. I'm kind of feeling okay with the training wheels on. That's not particularly where we want to end up in adult life. We want to be able to ride the bike. So in that same way, we want to keep in mind that when we are taking on physical health, it is not so external of a thing. It is very internal mainly. And when external challenges come about, then the physical health part of us rises to the occasion and takes that on with the appropriate resources and then overcomes it. Once the challenge is overcome, it does not come back in the same way again. It is now kind of put in perspective. Well, I just know to do this thing, if I'm in a crunch, it does take 2 full days of effort on this way of doing it. However, after those 2 days, being wise, I know I need another 2 to recover and to build back my emotional and energy, if you will, from expending so much in that experience. So this is kind of a good working model, a good addition to our physical health series, talking about it in the way that it's more presented in everyday life. Hopefully that is insightful, not too confusing, and if so, please feel free to contact me with questions. I enjoy answering questions, so that should be fine at designfitness.ca. Thank you very much.